Hey everybody, it's BATJAC J.W. Good morning. Hopefully you got your coffee and everything, or maybe you're not tuned in quite in the morning. But the last radio show, 149, so we're up to 150. Crazy. And I'm glad you guys are here on this channel, subscribed. And so let's go run through some of the comments here that we have. We have one by, we're starting at the top of the list here. Rusty Allen, he says, sort of like the days of the old Saturday morning with BATJAC and the Arizona Ghost Riders. I appreciate it. And that's one thing I wanted to, that's the reason why also I do these, because I think it's kind of a throwback to the days of, where people, not everybody had, it wasn't TVs, weren't the thing. It was radio. Everybody gathered around that radio. And hence, that's why I chose a lot of these really cool vintage photos of, just look at that. I mean, back in the day, look at, you got the family, and they're sitting around the giant radio box. So it was just really neat. And I tell you, if they ever invented a time machine and they said, hey, we can send you back to that period, you better believe I'll be the first one there lined up. All right, and we got Scott F. He says, nice morning chat. As the main channel of yours is doing well, so keep up the good work, good stuff. I appreciate that, Scott. It's definitely been a task to keep up, any kind of the main channel stuff. It has been definitely, a workout to keep it going. And mainly right now, just working on trying to buy a new camera. And I think maybe that hopefully I'll change some stuff and get some different things, footage, different stuff filmed. So we'll see. And good morning, Joe. How are you? He says, good morning, JW. I remember a gun review you did a couple of years ago on the Smith & Wesson Classic Line Model 36. I was ready to buy one, but you pointed out some differences between the Classic and the Vintage and ended up buying a 4-inch 586 instead. Yeah, Joe, that's kind of, I'm glad that it helped you. I'm glad that and that's really my videos that I've done. Bottom line is their entertainment value. I'm not trying to, more or less like educate the world or anything like that. I mean, I know a little bit of here and there. I'm not a guy that knows like every little detail on, oh well, this dash number and this blah blah blah. I don't know. I just know what I like, and I know what I saw in a movie, and that's why I like it. And I read a little bit about it, but that was one thing that really just discouraged me about that Classic Line Model 36 when I saw it. I just noticed how just that frame in the back looked like it was the frame for a concealed hammer frame, and they just kind of stuck the hammer on it. It really just didn't, it looks weird. And when you look at an actual legitimate vintage K or J frame, 36 or 37 or something, there's a big difference. It just looks different. And I gotta say, that was one of the first times I would, actually point out some of the real big negatives about something, especially like a Smith & Wesson revolver, which I love dearly. But man, that Model 36 that I had reviewed for the channel, looking all the way back at that thing was just so poor in a lot of things that it was just, the grips were poorly fitted. They looked like they were just made and slapped on there, not even properly done. I think there was like some gaps it was just totally uneven at the bottom. It was rather disappointing, really. So that was the first time I must say I was sad to say it was in a bit of a negative light, but I was just trying to point out what I really thought, and that's what I thought. I thought it was like that was pretty bad. So we got EB Saint. He says, hello, BATJAC. Hey, few of your tabletop reviews I really liked were the Smith & Wesson Model 66 No Dash, your dad's Model 15, beautiful gun, and one of the new Walther CCPs. I'm still debating on getting the CCP Actually a CCP too. If I recall right, those Walthers, I hope they fixed the takedown in it. I really do, because I remember, if I recall right, that's the one that has that weird tool, and you gotta kind of, hold your nose right, lift your left leg, and tilt your pop can just right on its edge with the half amount in there, just to get it balanced right, just to take the thing apart. I swear, it's like, I don't know. For me, that's the way it was, and I don't like anything like that where it's like a workout just to take it apart. And like, it's kind of like how my relationship is with the Beretta 92 FS or M9 or whatever you want to call it. Pretty much same gun. I love that gun. It's super cool. It looks awesome, and obviously its connection with two of the really popular 80s action movies. You got Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, but that gun has way too many parts and pieces in it. It is just ridiculous in how it's all put together, and that's really discouraging to me. Even though I can do it, it's just not something that I find. I just don't. It's way too much. It's way too much and too complicated to do. Much like the Walther PPK 22, I've taken that thing apart a few times. I was actually going to do a video on that, but it is such a pain in the butt to do. I just won't do it. And I've tried to do PPK takedown videos that just ended in disasters. I can take them apart, but it's a whole nother animal when you're doing those things on video. When you're taping it and you're doing it, it's really like, wow. It becomes a lot more difficult to do, on top of it being a difficult gun to begin with to take apart. So, yeah, and of course, Roy Scheider in 7-Ups. Great movie, very underrated movie. Not a lot of people know about that movie. It's kind of odd. A lot of people don't know about the 7-Ups. That's a great movie. So, and hopefully everybody listened to my movie chat. Hopefully you guys been enjoying the movie chats. I just recently did a movie chat on The French Connection 2, which is awesome. Gene Hackman reprising his role as Popeye Doyle. And good morning to you, Mr. Holster and Jeffrey Richardson. Good morning. I think he's saying good morning. Bob Hartman. Good afternoon. Oh, okay, Bob. Bob is tuned in the afternoon. Maybe he's done. Have you done going to the range, Bob? And now you're tuned in? And Edward Petty. Good. Chewing tobacco. Yuck. Not good for you. I bet you're glad you purchased your old movie guns back when you did. Note the prices of them today. It is. That's certainly true, Edward. Thinking, looking back, it's like, man, I can't believe it's been, a decade of, gun buying, gun business, gun counter work, all that stuff combined. Absolutely just crazy. So, yeah, the prices have certainly just, it shocks me. But sometimes you can still find the deals. You can still hold out, and really you can still find some deals. And I think some of it has to do with where you're at, where you're located at. Out here, it seems like you can hit a pawn shop and actually get a pretty decent deal on some of the Smith double action, the old school ones. So, but there is still that high price. Somebody's still trying to hold out for win the lottery with that one gun. So, as we talked about pawn shops as well, since the last time we did radio talk here, and but anyhow, other thing I wanted to talk about is painting, spray painting, because some people think that's a little crazy or whatever, but I actually just recently, the reason I'm bringing this up, I just actually threw some grips on some paint job on them, and it was the grips off of my Inland 1911. Now I had one of the friend and I, we were just chatting up to at night here, and we were looking at one of the old World War II 1911s together. And it was on the counter at the table, and as we were talking about it, I was looking at the grips. I have the original grips on it, obviously, and I was thinking to myself, how do I, I look back at the grips that were on my inland. I'm like looking at them, going, they're not, they're close. They're better, the best you're gonna get. But there's something about those old ones that they're a deep, dark, reddish brown. And they're dark. So I decided to take some paint, and this is something I learned. You can two-tone paint. You can do things with it. And I kind of learned this almost when I was doing the Freddy gloves. So I hit them with a nice thick coat of the brown. I used the chocolate brown, Ace Hardware brand, whatever the cheapest was. A nice thick coat of that, and then I took black, and then I just kind of barely touch the nozzle down to where it starts just kind of sputtering out, spitting it out, just flickering paint, black specks. And I let those black specks hit the wet brown paint on there, and they just kind of marble almost, but spread out in a way. And it will give it that kind of weird look that's, you got these other dots and stuff in there mixed up, and it will almost have that appearance of that old, like almost Bakelite type look, feel, or something like that. That's what I'm trying. So I'll see how that turns out. Maybe I'll post the video up. We'll see in the morning when it dries up and everything like that. So, and let me see here. I think I had gotten a message from I Carry One, and I Carry One, he's out here in the desert, as he calls it, the cactus patch, and so definitely we should do a meetup, because guys, I Carry One also has a YouTube channel. He does some pretty cool videos, and he's got a lot of good tastes in old guns and everything. So but yeah, we should definitely meet up at some time. I Carry One, if you're listening to this. So, and of course, looking at this one, hopefully, O-Rods over there in California, hopefully you're doing okay, brother, and taking it easy. You ever tune in, or we're always here. I think the community here is really cool because we kind of bring everybody together and help each other out. I think that's the most important, ultimately, in the end of all this, regardless of which way, which direction we go. So we try to stick together and everything. So, but yeah, I'm kind of curious on that. And also in my liked videos, I just recently liked a video because I found it. It's the video is titled "Vintage 9.5 or 9/2 inch Spanish Toledo," but it's actually Toledo, I believe, Toledo, a switchblade, and it's a very collectible one. This guy only made a 29-second video of it. It's not a very good video, but it's one that I remember seeing in Phantasm 4. Phantasm Oblivion, Reggie Bannister, known as Regman, or the guy, the ice cream vendor that creates a 4-barreled shotgun and goes after the tall man and his minions. Great sci-fi / horror film of the late 70s and carried on through the 80s and 90s. Fantastic film there. I love it. And so anyhow, in 4, he goes to his Hemi-Cuda, and he goes in the trunk, and he gets his gear out, and he's getting ready to go. I think he's got a Series 70 1911 stainless, of course, his 4-barreled shotgun, and a switchblade. And you guys know me, I'm a really big fan of those old vintage switchblades because when you grow up with movies from the past, and they're always the cool factor in them. There's just something really cool. All the way back when I was just a young squirt with my father, always just was so interested in getting a switchblade, never could find one. But as I got older and you know, of course, now in a state where you can legally own one, carry one, whatever. It's really neat to collect them. They're really cool. Not so much as a carry item, but just as a collector's piece and being able to use them in films. But anyway, this one that he has in Phantasm 4 was so cool. It always stood out to me. And to finally kind of know more knowledge on him and actually find out what it was. But yeah, in that video I put on my like, that's what it is. It's that exact one that he's got in that movie. And yes, you can even read some of the comments in that video. You know, people are saying, hey, that's actually a really expensive collectible knife, worth upwards. Somebody even put $800. So it's kind of crazy to see that a lot of those knives are that price. They can be that pricey. I didn't ever think that. I was like, wow, you know, especially like one like the Hellraiser switchblade. Now, if you watch the movie Hellraiser from, I think, in the 80s, you got Andy Robinson from the Scorpio Killer from Dirty Harry. He's in it and everything, but there's a Spanish switchblade in that one. It's a swing guard, known as like the Leafy Guard or the Batwing Guard or whatever. Really amazing knife. I just would love to have run across one, but I hear it's really rare. It's really hard to find. I'm not the only one that's in the collector market trying to find one too, and nobody seems to ever have one or get one. So it is kind of difficult. But some of them are really cool, and they stand out. And I'm always on the look for really neat ones and different types of ones. I've found some that are kind of close to certain ones I've been looking for, but there again, it just never. It's kind of hard to find them. So sometimes I surf those China websites and stuff because they have some knockoff ones that are pretty neat and inexpensive. So I always keep an eye out for those. You never know. I always hope that in one day that they will start making ones like the swing guards, more and more of the swing guards, because the swing guard is my favorite one. It's got more of that vintage look to it, and it helps with the sound and everything when you're doing like any kind of film bit with him. So, but yeah, I just, like I said, I just keep my eye out for them. I just actually recently got one. I don't think I have it here on the table here, but no, I don't. But it's a Leverletto. It's a black. It's kind of really neat because it's got that black and chrome kind of look. And I adjusted the spring a little bit on it. Now that's the nice thing when you're only paying like under $20 for these things. It kind of makes it easier to kind of work on them if you want to. And this one I did. I worked on it a little bit to enhance the spring on it to make it a little bit more stout. So when you fire it up, it snaps that blade out nice and fast, and really gives it that nice snap to it. So that's one thing I did to that one. I hope that like I said, I hope that China website, I hope they start making some swing guards, because that would be really cool. I remember seeing a while ago they were called the Korean Godfathers, and they were swing guards, very similar to the old. They call them Rizzutos, which I am very fortunate to have a little collection of those, of 3 of them that I bought off of the same guy at a gun show. And to me, that's like, part of the reason I'm going to a gun show, really. I know it's kind of weird, but yeah, I go to gun shows to find knives. Kind of strange, but yeah, that's what I do. I go there to find a knife because I'm hoping that one day I'm going to run across that table that's going to have the one I'm looking for. And I think, at some point, I think we all will run into them eventually. You never know. It may just pop up. And I always have that faith and belief that it does, because I've found quite a few things that I've always been looking for, things that I thought for sure I would never find, but they found their way into my hands. So sometimes you gotta just have a little faith in that, right? So thanks for tuning in, you guys. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you later. And never ever hesitate to say hi if you see me around. I've met a lot of you guys, a lot of viewers I met just wandering around, and you know, I'm never gonna turn you down or anything like that. I will always say hello. So thank you.